imagine for a second, right? Just picture a person who runs a highly demanding, really cutthroat business.
Oh, yeah. High stress, 247 emails, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. And they live in this very comfortable house. You know, the central air conditioning is just blasting. They have a spouse, kids, basically the whole chaotic domestic setup.
Right. A very normal, maybe even privileged modern life.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the kicker. According to some of the most rigorous ancient spiritual texts in existence, this exact person is considered completely free from the karmic baggage that supposedly binds the rest of us.
I mean, it sounds like a total paradox, doesn't it?
It really does. Welcome to our deep dive for today, everyone. I'm so excited about this one.
Same here, because it completely contradicts almost everything we're taught to picture when we hear the word enlightened. You know.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you ask anyone on the street what a spiritually liberated person looks like, they expect a cave in the Himalayas.
Right, like a vow of silence, maybe fasting for weeks. They definitely don't expect a suburban home with a 2-car garage and central air.
No, they do not. But in this deep dive into our source material today, we're going completely off that conventional map.
We really are.
We're digging into this incredibly profound discourse on Samaysaar Gatha 169. And for those of you who might not know, this is a foundational text by the ancient scholar Acharya Kundakunda.
Yeah, and we're looking at it through the lens of a highly detailed modern commentary by Guru Deshri. It's brilliant stuff.
It is. And the mission of this deep dive isn't just to, learn some ancient terminology or memorize a neat history lesson.
Right. The goal here is to fundamentally redefine what it actually means to be spiritual for you.
Yes. We're going to dismantle this deeply ingrained, almost biological misconception we all have that enlightenment requires intense, visible physical suffering.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead, we're going to look under the hood to discover the true hidden mechanics of liberation.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if we want to understand how our enlightened householder, the one sitting in the AC managing a massive spreadsheet.
Right, the guy living the normal life.
Yeah, if we want to know how he remains totally spiritually free, we first have to understand what actually causes you and me to be stuck in the first place.
Well, and that's where the text makes this massive distinction between two types of influx, right?
Yes, the Dravya and the Pavas.
Exactly. And this distinction is literally the bedrock of the entire philosophy. So the text separates Dravya Ashrav from Bhava Ashrav.
Let's translate that so it actually means something to us in the real world.
Okay, so Dravya Ashrav refers to the actual material influx of physical karma particles. And we need to pause here because in this specific philosophical framework, karma isn't just some abstract, poetic concept of like cosmic justice.
Right. It's not just what goes around comes around.
No, not at all. It is actual, subtle, physical matter that physically attaches to the soul. That material stuff, that's Dravya.
Okay, so it's a physical substance, almost like microscopic dust floating around in the universe.
That's a great way to put it. Exactly like dust. But then you have Bhava Ashrav.
And that's the internal part.
Yeah, this is the internal psychic disposition. It's your internal state. Your attachment, your aversion, and fundamentally your wrong belief about who you actually are.
Okay, I follow.
Now here is where the text completely flips the script on how we view reality. For an enlightened being referred to here as a jnani, the old physical karmas, the Dravya, might still rise up and play out.
Meaning they still have stuff happen to them.
Exactly. This person might still experience severe illness, sudden wealth, crushing poverty, or massive business stress.
Because the physical dust is still there from past actions.
Precisely. But because this enlightened person lacks the internal Bhava Ashrav, because they don't react to that illness or wealth with deep internal clinging or hatred.
The dust doesn't stick.
Exactly. Those physical karmas don't stick. They don't cause new bondage. And this state of not binding new karma is called nirashrav.
Okay, wait. Hold up. Let me challenge this. Because if you're listening right now, you might be thinking the exact same thing I am.
Go for it.
You're saying the actual physical karma particles, the Dravya, aren't the real problem.
That is what the text is saying, yeah.
But, okay, if the text describes this physical karma as dry dust, and the enlightened person's soul is dry, the dust just blows right past them. I get the metaphor, but here's my issue.
Okay.
When I have a terrible migraine or when, a business deal falls through and I'm facing bankruptcy, it doesn't feel like dry dust blowing past me.
Oh, I know. It feels incredibly heavy.
It feels like it's crushing me. So how does the text reconcile the very real physical pain of life with this idea that the external stuff doesn't matter?
That is the perfect question because it gets right to the core mechanism of suffering.
Sure.
Look, the text doesn't deny that a migraine hurts physically. Physical pain is a reality of having a physical body.
Right. It hurts.
But suffering, the despair, the feeling of why me, the terror of the future that is entirely generated by bhava ashrav.
Oh, wow. Okay.
When you get a migraine, you don't just feel pain. You think, I am a sick person. My day is ruined. I am broken. You identify your eternal self with the temporary physical state.
Ah, I see. So the physical karma brings the headache, but my internal reaction brings the suffering.
Exactly. The glue trapping us isn't the headache, it's our internal reaction. The engine of our endless worldly wandering consists of two very specific internal states the text identifies.
And those are?
The first is mithyatva, which means a fundamental wrong belief about your identity. It's believing, I am this body, I am this job, I am this bank account.
Okay, and the second?
The second is anantana bandhi rag.
Oof. Okay, let's break that second one down because that's a heavy term.
It is, yeah. Anantana bandhi rag translates to an infinite, deeply rooted attachment. And we need to explain why it's infinite, right?
Yeah, because it's not just like really loving your car.
No, exactly. It's infinite. Because as long as you have that wrong belief about who you are, your attachments will generate an infinite cycle of future lifetimes trying to satisfy desires that can literally never be fulfilled.
It's an attachment born of a delusion.
Yes. Once those two internal states are gone, the wrong belief and the infinite attachment, the glue is gone. The cycle breaks, even if the physical dust of a migraine or a stressful boardroom meeting is still swirling around you.
Man, if internal belief, the bhava, is the only thing that actually matters, this completely changes how an enlightened person looks from the outside.
Oh, entirely. Because we can't see someone's internal belief. Right?
No, we look at that person in the comfortable house and we immediately judge them.
Absolutely. And the text explicitly addresses this social friction.
Yeah.
Because it's a huge problem. It makes a clear technical distinction between a householder who is in the fourth gunasthana,
which is a specific spiritual stage, right?
Right, a spiritual stage of development. So the householder is in the fourth stage, and someone who has taken strict physical vows, like a monk or an ascetic, is in the fifth stage or higher.
So what does this fourth stage actually look like in practice for our guy in the AC?
Well, the enlightened householder in the fourth stage has achieved the internal breakthrough, the glue of wrong belief, that mithyatva is entirely gone. They know exactly who they are, a pure, knowing soul.
But externally?
Externally, their life looks totally normal to you and me. They still run the shop, they still go on vacations with their spouse, they still live a comfortable life.
And the sources actually mention the specific mockery these householders face from society. It's so relatable.
Oh, people can be brutal about it.
They really can. People look at this philosophy and they say sarcastically, wow, what a great religion. You just eat, drink, enjoy the AC, and claim you have no karmic bondage. Sign me up.
Right, they see it as a cop-out.
But let's be fair to the critics for a second here. Isn't this a highly dangerous loophole?
How so?
I mean, it sounds like the perfect excuse for a lazy, greedy person to just live in absolute luxury, exploit people, and then claim, oh, internally I'm detached, so I'm spiritually advanced. How does the text prove someone is actually in the fourth gunasthana and not just faking it for the air conditioning?
That is the exact skepticism the critics in the text bring up, and it's a highly valid concern. The answer lies in the actual mechanics of true detachment.
Okay, tell me.
The text is very firm on this. You cannot reach ultimate liberation just by sitting in the AC forever. The fourth stage is a milestone, it's not the finish line.
So it's not a permanent excuse to be greedy?
Not at all. Eventually, genuine internal detachment, naturally, inevitably leads to external renunciation. If you truly deeply realize that wealth isn't you, your obsession with accumulating it will naturally wither away over time.
Ah, so a faker using the loophole still has mithyatva.
Exactly. They still secretly believe their happiness comes from the AC and the wealth. They're terrified of losing it. But the true fourth stage householder, they enjoy the AC if it's there. But if the AC breaks or if they lose the house entirely, their internal peace does not fluctuate.
Wow. The critic only looks at the presence of the AC. But the spiritual text looks at the absence of the panic when the AC is turned off.
That is a perfect way to summarize it, yes.
That is such a profound observation about our human obsession with visible effort. We have this weird cultural mindset where if you aren't visibly miserable,
Or torturing your physical body in some way.
we assume you aren't doing the hard work of spirituality. We respect the monks starving in the heat, but we roll our eyes at the calm guy in the office.
Because the physical stuff is easy to measure.
Yeah.
We can measure how many days someone fasted. We can't measure their internal realization.
Right.
The source argues that starving yourself or turning off the fan is actually the easy part. Anyone with enough willpower can turn off a fan.
But very few people can turn off the fundamental illusion that they are the physical body sweating in that room.
Exactly. The critics don't understand the difference between the religion of faith, which is knowing who you are, and the religion of conduct, the physical acting out of that detachment. They only understand visible rituals, so they miss the entire internal revolution.
Okay, so if the true hard work is purely internal, how does one actually achieve this state?
That's the big question.
Because if you're listening to this and thinking, I want to be the person who isn't sticky with karma glue, how do we actually break the attachment? The text dives into the mechanics of enlightenment here, and I'll warn you, it gets into some really dense philosophical waters.
It does get highly technical, yeah, but it brings it all together beautifully if we trace the logic.
Let's do it.
So the source discusses how spiritual seekers often get overwhelmed by different paths or terminology. It mentions 3 specific massive concepts.
Okay, hit me with them.
The pure perspective, which is Paramshuddha-Nishayanaya, the object of faith, which is Drishti-Kavishaya, and the object of meditation, Dankade.
Okay, if you are listening right now and thinking, there's no way I'm going to memorize those 3 things, they sound like 3 completely different college courses.
You definitely aren't alone.
It sounds like a terrifying syllabus.
And historically, people have treated them exactly like that, like 3 different sequential mountains you have to climb.
Like first you master the perspective, then you find the faith, then you achieve the meditation.
Exactly. But the source material insists they are not 3 different things at all. They all point to the exact same target, the eternal, true, unchanging self, which is called the Kali Dhruv.
So they're just different tools for the same job.
Precisely. Paramshuddha-Nishayanaya is the ultimate pure standpoint of logic. It's how you intellectually frame the truth.
Okay.
Drishti-Kavishaya is what your deep, unwavering faith is anchored to. And Dankade is what your mind focuses on when it goes quiet.
I get it. So whether you are trying to understand it intellectually, believe in it with your heart, or focus on it in meditation, you are just looking at the exact same eternal soul from 3 different angles.
You nailed it.
Well, to explain how we actually grasp this eternal self, the source material uses this brilliant analogy. And rather than just reading it out, let's unpack it together because it beautifully explains how knowledge Gyan and faith Shraddha divide the labor.
Oh, this is my favorite part.
The text says that knowledge is like the husband who builds a house.
Right. And if knowledge is the builder, think about what a builder actually does. The faculty of knowledge analyzes the universe. It looks at the body, the karma, the passing thoughts, the bank account, and the migraine.
And it draws the blueprints.
Yes, it says this is physical matter, this is a passing emotion, none of this is the eternal soul. Knowledge does all the exhausting heavy lifting to construct this massive structural framework of truth. It separates the self from the non-self.
It pours the concrete and builds the house of truth. And this is but a newly built house is just empty rooms.
Exactly.
The text says the house isn't actually a home until faith represented in this analogy as the wife moves into it. But I need you to explain the mechanism here. I get the analogy intellectually. But how does the wife actually move in?
It's tricky. Yeah.
Like, if I'm the person sitting in the AC, what is the actual mental trigger that shifts me from just knowing I'm a soul to actually believing it?
It's the shift from observation to identification.
Yeah.
Look, knowledge alone can't liberate you because knowledge is just data processing.
Right.
You can read 100 books on how you are a pure soul, and your knowledge faculty will perfectly build that conceptual house. But until faith steps in, walks into that conceptual house and says, yes, this is me, I belong here, this is my ultimate identity, that knowledge is entirely hollow.
It doesn't become real for you.
Right, it doesn't get the title of Samyak, which means right or true knowledge.
So knowledge does the physical separation, but faith claims ownership.
Precisely. The text explicitly says the effort, the heavy lifting belongs to knowledge. But the ultimate glory, the actual transformation of the soul that stops the karmic glue, belongs to faith.
Wow.
The trigger you were asking about is surrender. It's the moment you stop merely analyzing the concept of a soul and actually surrender your identity to it, dropping your identification with the body.
I love that. The husband builds it, the wife makes it a home. Knowledge identifies the soul, but faith moves in and claims it.
It's beautiful.
It really is. So logically, this leads to the biggest question of all. If the formula is just acquiring that knowledge and letting faith move in, why is it so incredibly difficult for us to practice this in our daily lives?
Yeah. Why do we mess it up so much?
If it's just a mental shift, why do we constantly fail? The source points to a very specific psychological glitch in how we view time, doesn't it? And it has to do with our deep-seated obsession with guilt.
This brings us to a concept that completely rewired how I view daily life. The concept is pragabhava.
Okay, let's translate pragabhava and see how it works in the real world.
Pragabhava translates roughly to prior non-existence. It is a fundamental structural principle of reality which states that a past state is completely functionally dead.
Wait, like totally dead?
Completely. It has absolutely zero existence or influence in the present moment. The previous moment of your soul or any object in the universe literally does not exist right now.
But we are entirely hostile to that idea in practice. We are terrible at letting the past be dead.
Oh, we refuse to let it die.
Yeah.
This course gives a very raw, highly relatable example of how we sabotage ourselves here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Imagine you have a deeply worldly or even sinful thought. Maybe you get caught up watching a trashy reality TV show, or you have a highly greedy thought about destroying a competitor in your business.
Or you just have a flash of intense anger at your kids.
Exactly. Then, an hour later, things calm down, and you decide to sit quietly and meditate on your pure soul, trying to let faith move into the house.
And immediately, the guilt hits like a freight train. You feel like a total hypocrite.
Yep.
The source literally uses the phrase, like a cat going on a pilgrimage after eating 100 rats.
It's such a great image.
It is. You sit there trying to be spiritual, but your brain is screaming, who are you kidding? You were just screaming in traffic an hour ago. You're obsessing over money this morning. You're no saint.
And why do we do that? It's because we do not truly believe in pragabhava. We take the dead, completely non-existent past, we drag its corpse into the present moment, and we use it to purposefully contaminate our current state of mind.
Man, we feel we owe it to our past mistakes to feel guilty right now.
Exactly.
Okay, but practically speaking, if someone cuts me off in traffic and I absolutely lose my mind and scream at them, how do I apply pragabhava 5 minutes later when I walk into my house? Don't I have to reckon with the fact that I just acted horribly?
You reckon with it by understanding what actually happened. The true Johnny, the enlightened individual, understands that the anger in traffic was a momentary modification.
A passing cloud of bhava ashrav.
Right. The speaker in the source contrasts our modern clinging guilt with figures from the ancient texts, like for a Chakravarti. Here was an ancient figure who managed a massive continent-spanning empire.
Dealing with wars, extreme politics, and countless worldly affairs.
And yet, the texts say he could instantly achieve pure, flawless meditation.
How? Did he just have amnesia?
No, he had a perfect grasp of pragabhava. He didn't let the baggage of the previous hour contaminate the present second. When the war council was over, it was over. That state of his soul no longer existed.
He understood that the passing thoughts of running an empire were temporary modifications, not his eternal self.
Precisely.
Yeah.
When it was time to meditate, he was entirely 100% present in his pure nature.
Which means you and I are terrible accountants of our own soul. I want to bring in another amazing analogy from the text that perfectly captures this psychological bias we all have, the FD, or fixed deposit analogy.
Well, this is a very sharp observation from the commentary. It directly addresses modern anxieties.
The text points out that we obsess over our spiritual checking account of daily sins and minor flaws. In modern hustle culture, we track every micro failure.
Oh, absolutely.
We watch the wrong TV show, we eat something unhealthy, we lose our temper in traffic, and we stare at that daily ledger, constantly auditing our spiritual failures. We think, my balance is 0 today.
And while staring at the checking account, we completely ignore the massive fixed deposit sitting in the vault.
Exactly. We ignore the fixed deposit of our pure, untouched nature. We let society dictate what a big sin is like, enjoying a comfortable life in the AC, and we let that societal guilt act as a block.
We think, I was the one experiencing that anger, so I am fundamentally flawed.
But the enlightened householder looks at that anger and says, that happened, it's gone. It is subject to pragopava. It literally does not exist anymore.
They refuse to live in the graveyard of the past or panic about the anxieties of the future. They rest entirely in the present moment, residing in that fixed deposit of their eternal nature, which is never depleted by a bad day in traffic.
Which brings us right back to our guy in the air conditioning at the very beginning of this deep dive.
Full circle.
The reason he is free from karmic bondage isn't because he has hacked the system to enjoy wealth without consequence. It's because he has achieved a level of internal detachment that most of us can barely comprehend.
Right.
He is experiencing the comfort, managing the business, maybe even experiencing the intense stress of it, but deep down, faith has fully moved into the house of his eternal soul. He knows that all of these external events and even his own passing emotional reactions to them are not him.
And that is the ultimate takeaway from this incredibly dense, beautiful discourse. True liberation, that state of Nirashrav, isn't about escaping to a cave in the Himalayas so you can avoid traffic and stress.
It's a radical shift in identity.
Yes, it's about becoming the pure knower-seer, the Gatha, right here, right now, in the middle of your messy life. It means you stop identifying with the passing clouds of your emotions. You stop claiming ownership of the dust.
You know, whether you're dealing with a highly stressful corporate job, absolute chaos with your family, or just your own internal guilt trips about not being good enough today. The knowledge decoded in this ancient text gives you immense, unparalleled permission.
It really does.
It gives you the permission to completely drop the baggage of 5 minutes ago. The past is structurally, scientifically, fundamentally dead.
It's an incredibly empowering philosophy. It demands that you stop disqualifying yourself from peace just because you had a deeply human moment an hour ago. The eternal self is always pristine, always available, waiting for your faith to simply recognize it, turn the key, and move in.
So to leave you with a final thought to mull over today as you go back to your own worldly responsibilities, your spreadsheets, and your families, we've talked a lot about how pragava, the idea that the past is dead, applies to your own guilt. But let's flip it outward.
Right.
If your past self truly ceases to exist with every passing second, well, so does everyone else's. It completely changes how we view forgiveness. If the person who wronged you yesterday or cut you off in traffic literally no longer exists today in that same state, who are you actually staying angry at?
That is a deep thought.
Are you just holding on to the ghost of a person who is already dead? Think about that next time you refuse to let a grudge go or catch yourself feeling guilty over a past that literally no longer exists.